going back to myself, I was raised in a strict, rigid home, Lutheran home, but I clung to God, and without him in my life, I know I would have gone down the tubes, but I had such a fear of his zapping me on the shoulder if I did something wrong.
When kids are little and they do something wrong, they lie about something. A lot of times parents say, well, God doesn't like it when you lie, and then punish them. So it's God's authority coming through parents, which can give kids a distorted view of God, and I think I had one.
My own individual image came when I was a teenager and I turned my life over to Jesus Christ, and that's when I gained my own image of him.
Kevin, what would you say are the best ways to help kids want to know God, want to serve God?
Perhaps we get our best clue here in 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. Peter writes, "Therefore rid yourselves of all malice and deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and slander of every kind." It's all kinds of ways we sin against each other, relational kinds of sins, wrong strategies. He says, get rid of those. And he says, like a newborn babe, crave pure spiritual milk, so that by it you may grow up in your salvation. And here's the most important part. Now that you have tasted that the Lord is good. What he's saying is lay aside all the ways you're trying to get your own needs met by manipulating other people, slandering, envy, hypocrisy, all these different ways that we use to get what we want from others. Give those up and instead come to God and get pure spiritual milk, the kind of stuff where our deepest needs can be met. Get them met through him. Now that you have tasted the Lord is good. What's going to motivate you to move toward the Lord to get your deepest needs met is when you get a taste of his goodness. Now the question is, how do we give kids a taste of God's goodness? And let me suggest that, especially with adolescents, that has to be done in relational kinds of ways. We give kids a taste of what God is like when we can offer representatives in their lives, representatives of God, that can start to give them a taste of what he's like, giving them a taste of his grace, giving them a taste of his righteousness, giving them a taste of how he loves them, how good he is.
Okay. How can I help my child get a taste of love? How can I give her a taste of justice, of righteousness, of who God is?
You might think about offering them a relationship that has two main ingredients. The one is what I often call unconditional involvement, which really gives kids a taste of God's grace. It's a commitment to stay relationally involved with his kid, no matter what problem is seen in him, no matter what situation he finds himself in. It's a commitment to stay involved. And in that way, you're giving him a taste of God's commitment to stay involved. And that's pure grace. Pure grace. A second ingredient would be what I call uncompromising responsiveness.
What does uncompromising responsiveness look like?
Uncompromising responsiveness sounds complex. It's a big word, but the concept is an important concept, but it's not really a complicated one at all. It's simply responding to your adolescent in a way that helps them attach the same significance to their actions that God attaches to their actions. In other words, it's responding to what your adolescent does in a way that helps them take into account what the ultimate consequences are going to be if they keep going that direction. So if you see an adolescent, for example, being very selfish in their relationships, let's say you see an adolescent girl keep using boys to feel accepted, to feel secure, then an uncompromised response would be to respond to that girl in a way that helps her understand what the true nature is of her actions, how she's using boys, and what will happen if she continues to do that down the road. You know, for some reason, God has put us in a culture where adolescence is 10 or 12 years long. And that can be a real advantage because you got 10 or 12 years to show kids unconditional involvement. That's a long time to hang in with them when they're going through adolescent crises off and on. But it's a great opportunity to show that God is committed to them, and I'm going to model that for you by the way I'm committed to you. I'm going to stay involved with you no matter what.
And what does that look like, that involvement?
Well, involvement is something that comes pretty natural for parents when kids are younger. not with all parents, but most parents find it pretty easy to be involved with their kids when they're small. But as they get older, as they move into adolescence, that becomes a big challenge. And I have found that if parents want to cultivate this relationship of unconditional involvement with their kids, they really have to develop it in stages. If they jump to the third or fourth or fifth stage before they've developed relationship with the earlier stages, they really turn the kids off and alienate them. I suggest that parents start at the level of intellectual involvement first, getting intellectually involved with their kids. And that's nothing more than becoming aware of the kids' outer circumstances, what their outer world is like. That can happen through just talking with the teenager, exploring with them what a day at school is like, what they're going through with their friends right now, what kinds of things they're feeling as a result of maybe some ups and downs in relationships. Just trying to find out roughly what is a kid's world like. And it's so different than our world as adults. And it's really a lot different than our world as adolescents when we were teenagers a few years ago. It's changed tremendously. So intellectual involvement is where it has to start. And if a teenager feels like you've taken the time to become intellectually involved with them, then he's willing to move at the next level with you, and that's material involvement. And material involvement is nothing more than entering his world, now that you've become kind of aware of it, entering his world through a shared experience. And the important the key thing here is that it's entering his world, not pulling the kid into your world. I had a dad recently tell me that he spends quality time with his kid every Saturday. I said, well, what do you do? He says, well, I bring him along to caddy for me on the golf course. Well, the kid might enjoy that, but that's pulling the kid into his world, into the dad's world. The dad needs to go in the son's world, whether that means, going and doing something the son really likes, or going to one of his athletic matches, or hanging out with him, or maybe going to a movie that he wouldn't enjoy, but it's a movie his son wants to see. But at least entering his son's world through a shared experience. Now, that's the second stage of involvement. And after that's been developed, then you can move to a third. And the third one, parents automatically want to jump to without doing all the work at level 1 and level 2. But the third one is the level of emotional involvement, entering the kid's inner world through shared thoughts and feelings. A kid becomes open to do that after you've entered their world through a shared experience. Now, you might go and be with a kid for a whole day in an amusement park that he's chosen to go to. And you spend 8, 9, 10 hours with his kid. Well, in the half hour before you get home in the car, that's where he might give you an open window into his soul and start sharing with you some of his thoughts and feelings. And you will get some level of emotional involvement at that point. Now, if you've done the hard work at level 1, 2, and 3, then you also then are given permission by the adolescent to be involved on a fourth level, which I call dynamic involvement. And that's not only where you're involved in the kid's inner world, but you're actually active in helping to rearrange it and reshaping it. The kid actually starts to share with you what some of his deepest beliefs, fears, and goals are. And you can begin to suggest they be changed or redirected. And the kid is open to that now at this point because you've developed a relationship with him at levels 1 through 3. The last level is what I call the level of prolonged involvement. And all that is doing the first 4 for as long as it takes to put your kid in a position of independently walking with the Lord, of being a mature, healthy, loving person. And once your adolescents move in that direction, then involvement doesn't become a chore at all, a task at all. It becomes a joy.
And I catch myself laying my stuff on them today. I catch myself having to go back to them and saying, you know, Dennis, it really isn't your deal. What I was doing there is I was trying to blame you for what my shortcoming is. Or maybe my daughter, if she thinks that I should be doing something that I'm not doing, and we get into a little bit of a strained conversation. The good thing about it is that she knows she can trust me to be there and be honest about what I was doing. Maybe I won't be honest at that point because I get defensive sometimes. But I will be before it's too far down the road.
Give us your perception of the ultimate goal of parenting?
I'd say the ultimate goal of parenting is to help my adolescent move toward becoming the person God created him to be. Really helping him become free to love other people in the name of Christ. And of course, that's going to require him to move into an intimate, genuine relationship with Christ as well. So my goal as a parent is to do whatever I can to promote that healthy relationship with Christ in my teenager and loving relationships with others by my teenager.
I think because of my relationship with my parents, my view of God is very similar to how they are as people. And so I see God as being very friendly and caring about me very much and loving me very much. And it's all through what I've received from them or what they've shown to me through their actions.
I know my parents aren't perfect, but then I know God is, and He's a Father who's always there for me, who'll never leave me, who is a best friend that I can sit down, talk to. I mean, I can't go out and throw the ball with them, of course, or goof around or anything, but I still can have a lot of fun with them just talking to them and, communicating with them and relating to them.
I really had to turn them over to God and just remember what I vowed to do during their baptism, to teach them the ways of the Lord and to share the commandments with them and to have scripture reading. That's all we could do, and the rest was up to them.
Finally, some cheerleading. I'm a parent. I've been involved with other parents for 8 weeks thinking about parenting adolescents. What next? Encourage me.
Perhaps the thing I could say to encourage you would be that you don't have to bat 1,000 to be an effective parent. I think that perhaps many parents have the idea that they have to take the things in this discussion series or the things in the books they read or the seminars they go to on parenting and somehow do them all flawlessly to be an effective parent. And that's just not true. Effective parents bat 200 or 300, which means 2 or 3 times out of 10 they handle things in a pretty healthy way. But they still blow it a lot. They make a lot of mistakes. But kids are amazingly resilient. And we can do a lot of things wrong. But if we begin to admit that, if we're just honest enough to admit it, that I've made some big mistakes with my kids, I'm really failing to love them in some significant ways. We're willing to admit that and then look within for what's causing that, the wrong goals, the selfishness, and bring that to Christ and get His help to overcome it, then very slowly we'll get free to be more effective parents. Never perfect parents. We won't be perfect until glory, but we will become more effective in a very slow way. And our kids are amazingly patient with that process of growth. If they just see growth, that's usually enough to encourage them. They just see mom or dad just slowly becoming more loving, more committed to them. So don't think you have to be a perfect parent at all, just a growing parent.
So rigorous self-honesty is the basis of all the spiritual principles that I operate by now, and trusting God as I really don't understand God too well at this point. I understand Him less now maybe than I have, but I guess I understand Him better because now I know I don't understand Him too well. But trusting God as I understand Him and cleaning house, trying to find the truth about what my motivation is for everything that I do in relationship. And any time that I'm upset, I know that there's something wrong with my motivation. Now, that's been very difficult for me to accept, and some people may disagree with that, but for me, that's the number one rule in parenting. Anytime I'm upset, there is a selfish motive in my parenting, and that's what hurts my relationship with my kids. And it's what keeps it from being straightened out. I
now feel that God is Father and loving and caring and not punitive at all. I did not always feel that way. And there was a time through my anger and rage when I felt that he was cruel and not loving at all, and I was very angry with him. And one day my pastor said to me, "Do you think it's okay that with God that you're angry? Does he have shoulders big enough to handle your anger?" And I will never forget that, because it helped. It helped me realize that he could handle whatever I was feeling, and I didn't always have to be perfect.